So we've all heard, all there is this.
Hundreds of times.
And what do you, yeah, so let's go into it, because really all is this leaves nothing outside of this to know this. All is this, so that's everything. All is this, all, no exceptions. Leaves nothing outside of this to know this. So to know this, you'd have to be separate to know something. So what's being pointed out here is the impossibility of knowing anything. So this is an open meeting. Everybody's welcome to participate. If you have a comment or question, please unmute and jump in.
So I had a really fun time today discussing this with my students for about an hour and a half. And I just thought I would bring a little bit of that to you guys because it was really fun when this particular student said to me, "Okay, Eric, 2 + 2, what's that?" I was like, "Okay, well, it's 4. He's like, "So there." And he felt like the whole concept of non-duality was saying that things like math and science aren't real because this can't be known. And all that this ever says is there just is what is, and I can't know it or grasp it. And it felt like he was bouncing up against this sense that because we're saying that this can't be known, we're also saying that all things that seem to arise that appear as knowing are invalid or should be ignored or pushed away. But it's not saying that either. It's just saying they simply seem to be arising. And we just had a lot of fun going around in circles about this. And it spoke to the impossibility to me of, I guess, communicating that, of communicating something being unknowable or something being intangible or unchangeable or whatever. So yeah, we just kind of like chased our tails for an hour and a half and didn't get anywhere, and it was a lot of fun.
Lovely.
I'd like to be at the PTA meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They my students were saying that they had a lot of fun, but they felt so confused, and they kept doing this over and over again.
And these were second graders, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, how old were they?
These are all college age students.
Oh,
Let me throw something in here, because I also teach college age students, and this issue has come up as well, because I teach a number of philosophy courses, and I brought this issue into class. And one of the questions that comes up is, first of all, from some students, well, what do you mean by knowing versus unknowing in terms of conceptual definition? But a question comes up, is there a knowing without a knower? Can there be just a knowing without a knower? Because I think what happens, and I notice this with students, when we say nothing can be known, they'll have the same response that Eric's students has. What about math? And do I have to do homework anymore? And what's the point of coming to school? And I can stay home and play Call of Duty all night. So, but seriously, the words know and unknown, I do think it causes confusion, because we say you can't know anything because there's no knower. But is there a knowing that is just knowing as this? Because when we say there is nothing to know, are we eliminating, are we saying it's not included in this? Just a question.
That's beautiful. Yeah, actually, I mean, for me, that's spot on. You don't need a knower to know something.
Yeah.
So then the knowing with no knower would be the same thing as unknowing. It would be two different words for the same thing that we're pointing to, I think, unless someone has a different idea. But
Well, you know, Dan, that you make a good point, and it's almost the same problem with when we say real, unreal. I've gotten tangled up with students on this, or it's been difficult, or to say everything is real and unreal. But maybe neither word applies. Maybe we're just playing with language for the sake of language, but it's not either real nor unreal. It's not the word. Put the words aside, and including the word knower and unknown. Just it's sort of. I've thought about it. Maybe we get tangled, and my students get tangled in these words. And I do think the students are like, they'll throw out the baby with the bathwater, and we start talking about there's nothing that can be known, because at that point they're like, that sounds. They can't even work with that.
yeah, Harvey, that's great. So that's why we're back to not two, non-duality. Real and unreal actually are not two. So they are not two different things. They're, you can't find the difference between them. They actually are, they are to a knower, they're two different things. So when you have the knower in there, then real is different than unreal. But you take the knower out, then real and unreal are the same thing. The same thing that has no real word to describe it, except we call it the non-dual or this.
Yeah, and in a way, if this it's fully inclusive, then the issue of, to me anyway, of know versus not know, that's all dualistic. And you're right. If there's no know or anything, then it's like an and. It's almost A and B simultaneously, and then just leave it at that.
That's your non-duality.
Yeah, yeah.
But the person cannot deal with that. It makes no sense to the person, because the person is already seeing a world in which real and unreal are different, and all these divisions are already appear to be what is. But
in a lot of the mystical literature, there's sometimes a saying of there's a knowing and there's no evidence required. It's a knowing that is so, it's almost beyond words. But I see how students get all tangled up in in something, just like the word reality versus non-reality. And even today I was doing one of my classes, and I just talked about, we can get stuck trying to say what is reality or what's not reality, but it's neither and both. But you're right. The mind can't make it doesn't make sense in the mind. But the willingness to kind of point out, it's sort of maybe a conjunction in a sense, or let them play with it, and maybe something comes forth. But I think very often in the non-dual sort of teachings, we get stuck on the word know versus unknown. And I'm telling you, the students don't work with, you can't know anything.
Harvey, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
It's because the students are doing what 99.999% of the me's are doing. They're trying to figure it out with their mind.
Yeah.
They're trying to use logic. They're trying to use what they're taught. What we're pointing at is already here. If you care to notice, there's nothing looking out your eyes. It's just nothing there. It's just empty. So there is no knower. There's just nothing.
Yeah, so I think the problem is the context. So if I bring it up in a class which is academic, of course they're immediately going to go to try to figure it out.
Right, but that's not what we're pointing at.
I know.
We're saying, and Nkosi often says this to Alice. He'll say, "Don't think, look."
Yeah. I tell look and see. I use a phrase like that.
Right.
So I'm very aware of I totally agree with what you're saying.
But as Dan's pointing out, they have no choice.
Mhm.
They're going to go to the mind. They're going to go to concepts. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
The contradiction is already resolved, as it were, before the question is asked. But once the question is asked, then there's no resolving. There's always going to be the opposition and the conflict. And the person, has already asked the question. That's what the me is. The me is already, this question of how to resolve the world and how to find the answer and how to see which is what is already up and running. So yeah.
Maybe when the question is asked, it's already too late.
Yeah, that's kind of what thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
Yeah.
And that's the case for the me. The person, it's already too late. The me is already, the question is asked for the me always. Because the me is already looking for the answer.
I've had an interesting time this week. My daughter my adult daughter has been struggling, I would say, with a disordered, upset nervous system. She's had some bouts of this before, a combination of what the medicos would label anxiety and depression. Anyway, so I try to support her, and I come from my so-called non-dual perspective. Poor darling, she has to put up with me. But what I found interesting was she said to me, "Mum, the only way I can cope is to," what did she say? Is to not, is to cut off from my thinking. That wasn't exactly the word she used, but it was the only way I can cope, the only way I can function is to ignore or cut off my thinking, because when she's in this disordered state, her head is spinning with thinking and keeps her awake at night. She can't eat and drink food, and she said the only way I can function is to, I wish I could remember, stop the thinking. And I thought, well, that's perfect, because that's just what we talk about. It's like, don't follow your thoughts. Thoughts are not real. And I think, wow, that's not bad going if you can figure out that the way to function is without thinking.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Faith. Thank you for sharing that. I have some bad news because about thoughts, because your thoughts have absolutely nothing to do with life. Life doesn't care about your thoughts, because what's happening is already happening. So the thoughts are always a day late. It's already happening. So the complaining, the want, all that stuff can get old. Like you've heard it, and like you just get tired. I just can't do it. Like, go ahead, complain. I don't care anymore.
What I really find helpful is, and Nkosi mentions it many times, is that thinking is part of is wholeness too, and not to suppress it, not to stop it, just know it's part of the wholeness, and that has made a difference for me, because not everything is allowed in this wholeness.
Yes, yes, exactly, Alice. And here's the thing. Let me ask you something. Are you a thought?
No.
Because if you tell me you are a thought, I'm going to ask you which thought in particular. You're not. That's the big message. Thoughts have nothing to do with you at all. That's what Nkosi keeps saying. They're just wispy nothings, come and go, all by themselves. So he always says to us, do nothing. Oh, there's a paradox.
Would add also, Faith, if you find this helpful, is that you could also talk to her about identifying with the thoughts. So part of it is that there's thoughts that she's taking as real, but then, because if you say everything is this, sometimes people, that might be hard for them to process. But if you give them the idea that they're identifying with their thoughts, that's their maybe just old programming. And everything we're pointing to is not thought. And so I find that is an important distinction for people to understand. Oh, I'm identifying. It's not just the thinking that's the issue, but now I'm identifying with it. So anyway, hope you find that helpful.
That's great, Alan. And another way of saying what you just said is, what doesn't come and go?
It's kind of like back to the unknown or the not knowing is what doesn't come. It's like the Tao, right? It already is. It already is, yeah.
So functioning without thinking is what is. That's what's going on. That's what is here. There's just functioning without thinking. There isn't any thinking, actually. There's just thoughts appearing. But thinking would be something that would be done by a thinker. And there is no thinker. So there isn't, the thoughts are appearing, but they're not appearing for anyone or to anyone. And nobody is thinking. So that one that would be thinking is a thought, as Michael pointed to. So really there's nothing to be done about any of it. And then what Alan is just pointing to, might be a good thing to do as an exercise to kind of get a little centered with this. But really, there is just, there's just thoughts appearing. And there's nothing, no one in there, no one thinking, and no one that needs to do anything about anything, about thoughts or anything else. Yeah.
Well, it's been interesting with my daughter, because we've tried to have a conversation about what it is that's driving her her nervous system distress. And what we arrived at yesterday was she's grieving. She's grieving the loss of who she thinks she should be.
Mm.
And I think that's just perfect with what we talk about, because we are not identifying with that me person. She wouldn't use that language that she about me, but it's about losing, it's about the death of me, really. And she's grieving the loss of that identity, who she thinks she should be in society. She's grieving it, and it's causing her massive emotional and physical symptoms. But it takes what it takes to get you there, doesn't it? It's like, I think in the Bible, it talks about dying to self. And that's what I think's going on with just with what the medical people would probably call a nervous breakdown or something.
Yeah. Can I piggyback on that, Faith? What you
Sure.
just said? Yeah, because there's just, I want to put a caveat on that, in that, we talk about the death of the me, and, it's all the seeker wants, right? More than anything. When is this fucking me gonna die? Okay, that's not the message here. In story, I know it can sometimes sound like that. But again, there never was a me. You've never been the limitation. There's only wholeness. So limitation is a dream.
Can wholeness arise at limitation?
I'm sorry, Don, say again.
Can wholeness arise as that limitation that you're referring to?
It can appear to, like a dream. So you can feel like you can be in a situation that seems really sticky in the moment. Like, oh boy, have this all right. And then somehow something happens and it seems things move on. But you didn't do that. You start to notice that you're not doing anything. You're not, even the voice right now. You hear my voice? You hear your voice when you're speaking? You're nodding? No, the nodding is just happening. The sound is just happening. No one's doing it.
So the question would be, I love it. It's like, okay, so there's a sense of me that says, I want this. I want this experience. Now I know there's no me, or I'll go with that. There's no me, there's no experience. But you get sort of what the illusion is saying. So, oh God. So the question, how do I get there? Now, I know it'll be, well, there's nowhere to go. It's all here, all arising now. And if I say that I'm not experiencing that, then there's nothing to experience because I'm not here. Here's my question. At what point does the wholeness appear, where the wholeness, where I can't say I though, so where the wholeness is, the wholeness is
Obvious?
okay. Well, and if it's obvious, who's it obvious to?
Ah,
Yeah, obvious. Okay.
that's a good question. Like Dawn, you could apply that to right now in this moment. Take a look. What is seeking? Can you find that one in this moment that says it's not whole? Really look.
Well, when I look, I am seeking, but then the me that I identify with, but then it does go deeper. I can feel that it goes, that I that I think I am goes much, much deeper to a place where I'm not so much there. And I'm wondering if that's like the direction, if in that direction where I go to the I that is the wholeness.
See, it's not going to work, Dawn, because you're I'm sorry, you're already the wholeness. So that's why Nkosi says you can go right, you can go left, you can go up, you can go down. It doesn't matter. So however it's happening for you, Don, that's just how it's happening. But it doesn't change the fact that there's only wholeness. So wholeness trying to figure this out.
So I shouldn't worry about my experience of this enlightened wholeness that I'm looking for, because that's not real. Is that right?
Well,
so I'm looking for, go ahead.
You're looking for something that you already are. You're already, there's nothing missing. The idea that something's missing is just that, it's an idea. So my recommendation is start from wholeness. Don't start from what's missing, because that's what I notice when I talk to people about this, is they're always starting with their story every time. Well, of course your story is broken. That's why you're seeking, because you want a better story. You're never going to get anywhere if you start with story. You're just going to get, as Dan said in his video, more story. That's all you get with story, is more story. Start from wholeness. Start from wholeness that doesn't believe it. Start from wholeness that doesn't believe it's wholeness. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
That's honest.
Michael, when you say start from wholeness,
Mm.
what does that mean?
Exactly. Thank you, Hart. You can't get a handle on it.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of knowing something.
The reason I ask that is because it's sometimes I think it's heard when we say stand on wholeness or start with wholeness, it becomes another identification. We just switch names. It's like saying I'm that, I'm that, but that's also just a conceptual identity. And so the question, that's why it's good to penetrate that, because what does that really mean? It's very easy to say, oh, I am now wholeness, but that's just another concept.
Honestly, it's just whatever word is so whatever, like, because really, what is wholeness? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't even know what that means. Even the word this, it's just a word. It's just a sound. So like, that's another thing. Like the mind will get caught up in concepts and it will start thinking that one is better than the other. But again, we come back to all is this. If all is this, then how could one be better than the other?
Mm-hmm. I liked your body language, because actually that was good when you sort of did that, because that, you see, wasn't just conceptualizing it. That was like almost like a penetration into that, which, you know what I mean? It was very nice to see that.
You know, maybe you all just answered the question, but when you say to start with wholeness, I think that's what you were saying. I would know how to start from wholeness because I would be in story no matter what, unless there was one of those.
Oh.
What?
Oh. Wait, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Did you want to finish your question or?
No, I think I'm okay. I just wanted to ask you when you said start from wholeness.
Yeah. No,
Instead of starting from story, but I think I would be starting from story right now, no matter what.
Yeah. Wholeness doesn't have a story.
I know, but I do. So when you say start from wholeness, I don't know.
Right? So that would mean start without a story.
Come on, Michael, admit it. It's a trick.
I know.
Because starting is already a story. Starting is a story.
Right.
And there isn't any starting in wholeness because where is it going to start and where is it going to go? And wholeness is just everything. So, but that's just pointing out that wherever you start from, you're already in a story.
Right.
Yeah, that's
fine because there's nowhere to go. There's no starting. There's nothing to do. But yes, for the mind, it's just a puzzle. It's a conundrum. Go ahead, Michael.
No, well, Dan, you and I have discussed this before, where it's like the me is like a program already in progress.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to point to a minute ago when I was saying the me has already asked the question. The question is already in force. So questioning is another way of saying start. The motion, the movement is already going on. So the questing for the next thing that's going to give me, the prize that I'm looking for, or the answer, or the resolution, or whatever. But it's already a hamster already running the wheel. And none of that is happening. None of that is going on. There's just this. No story.
I can't remember if it was you, Michael. I think over the years you've used this term also, which I love, which is everything is just happening. So there's no second thought to that. In Zen, in the way of Zen, Alan Watts at some point talks about, it's the Alan Watts quote for the week. Sorry, Dan, I know it's been a long time, but
yeah, I've been waiting. Okay.
I'll do two tonight for you. No, there's this concept of no second thought, which I think is very powerful, because if you really are in the it's sort of like unknowable, but if you're in that no second thought mode, whatever thought comes up, right? If there's no second thought to it, right? It's sort of like you're in that spontaneity of life. You just keep going down the river, right? There's no duality. So that's another tool that people may find helpful, just to stay in the no second thought mode, or look at life as it's just a happening. It's not, that the duality is the mind kicking into the happy. No, it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening.
And in a way, the person is already at second thought. So it's a way of, kind of reset, saying again what we've already been talking about. Stay with the first thought, don't go to the second thought. But the me has already gone to the second thought. It's already in second thought because it's already in doubt, which is what a second thought is. It's like, checking. And, but the me is, it's it's giving that, well, it's like looking at itself and trying to find out what is actually going on or something.
Like Dan, bringing up the topic of the second thought requires a me. If there wasn't a me, there wouldn't be a first or a second thought.
Yeah. And there really isn't a second thought. Again, that's no non-duality. There isn't any second. There are no second thoughts. There's just what's here appearing and to no one. But yes, that me character is the one that brings in that second, phantom second person who's trying to get everything, trying to bring everything together. But it's always $1 late. I mean, $1 short and a day late or whatever. Always running to catch up with itself. It's always trying to add what's needed, you know, but there's nothing to add, you know, nothing to add here. It's already what it is. But that was good, Alan. I like that.
Thank you, Dan. Dan approved.
So I want to come back to the original quote at the beginning of our meeting where I said, all is this leaves nothing outside of this to know this. Thus, all the figuring out, all the trying to get to the bottom of this. I was there, guilty. Hundreds of non-duality books, hundreds of Vedanta books, hundreds of Buddhist books. I tried like the Dickens to figure it out. And again, as we talked about earlier, Harvey and Eric, it doesn't mean our knowledge can't be useful within the dream. So, knowing what you want to order for food, knowing which car is yours to get into is useful. But the difference is you realize you were never doing any of it. That's the freedom.
There he is.
There he is. Hey, Nkosi.
Hi, Michael.
Oh,
Hello, everyone.
We're so happy you slipped in here right at the end. What a nice surprise.
He told me last night he'd be here, so I just wanted to announce it, and there he shows up.
Beautiful. Yeah, so tonight in Nkosi, we've been talking about all is this leaves nothing outside of this to know this.
Yeah, everything is this. Everything is this. Exactly what seems to be happening right now is just wholeness happening. And it's got nothing to do with an imaginary individual. It's just what seems to be happening. And there's nothing wrong or right with it. So even what seems to be an individual is just wholeness appearing as that. So there's really nothing outside of this. And nobody can talk about anything here. Nobody can know anything. Nobody can become anything. Because there's nothing here. There's nobody here. It's just wholeness appearing to talk. Just wholeness appearing to be asking a question. Listening, searching, memorizing, wondering. So everything is this. There is nothing outside of this. There's nobody who's outside of this. And there's nobody here. So what seems to be happening is just beautiful the way it is. Nothing needs to be changed. Yeah, this what is cannot be said. Cannot be said. It cannot be known. It cannot be seen. Cannot be held in view. Cannot be gotten. Because all there is this. So this, what seems to be happening, is going nowhere. There's nobody who's gonna achieve anything here. There's nobody who's gonna receive any clarification here. There's nobody who's gonna get anything here. Because there's nobody here. It's just what seems to be appearing and disappearing. Every movement, every thought, every sensation, every wandering, every seeking is just this. Everything is this. So nothing is left out here. There are no individuals. There are no human beings here. There's no one here. And this is not trying to convince anyone that there's nobody. It's just what seems to be happening. It's just talking happening here, and it's going nowhere. Because there isn't any goal to reach already. This is effortless and obvious. It's right here for nobody. You can call it whatever. You can call it spaciousness, ground, the sky, God. It just doesn't mind. It just doesn't mind. This doesn't mind itself. And this doesn't see the other. It sees itself. So I can say there's no one who has ever done anything There's no one who has ever said anything. There's no one who has ever gone anywhere. It's just wholeness appearing as that. Even the one who may seem to be appearing to be an individual is just wholeness already. So there's no one to escape, or there's no escape. No matter which shape or form it may appear to be, it's just wholeness already. So there's no movement here. There's nothing to be done. There are no steps here. There's no journey. There's no knowing this. There's no getting this. Because all there is this. Nobody can point to this. Because there's just this. Who can point to this? Yeah, that's what seems to be coming up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nkosi. Any other comments or questions before we close out this evening? Yeah, so even wholeness can appear to want to figure this out. Okay. That's just what's going on.
So wholeness wanting to figure this out.
Mhm.
He said, so also the wholeness that is happening here, that's fighting this, that's just upset with this because it wants it. That wholeness, why would the wholeness be fighting in here? It wants it. So the wholeness wants the wholeness.
Well,
So
John, oh, go ahead.
where does it go? Where does it arise the resistance? Let's use that word. The wholeness wants the wholeness, wants to, or arises as everything.
Yeah. So Don, hold on. If wholeness is everything, then what must the resistance be?
The wholeness.
You just answered your own question.
So it's just a thought that I have that the wholeness wouldn't resist itself. I'm getting confused. Go ahead. I'm sure I'm engaged. I'm just like going nuts. Okay. So this resistance here is wholeness arising here now. And Nkosi would say, and that's beautiful. or that's is what it is. But and then there's the me that's saying, no, this is not beautiful, but that's also the wholeness. I keep getting all these beautiful yeses on the screen and go, okay, I'll let you guys finish up. I'll be listening.
Yeah, this can't be figured out.
Well, the wholeness is not arising, though. I mean, wholeness, there's an appearance of a story of an arising. There's an appearance that is appearing, and it's there only is wholeness. Everything is wholeness. So the appearance is wholeness, but it's not like the wholeness is arising, because the wholeness isn't doing anything. It's not becoming something else. It's not becoming an appearance. This all is, it's all an appearance, which is wholeness. So wholeness isn't trying to do anything. It's not fighting itself. There's a story of wholeness trying to become wholeness or something, right? That's just the appearance. But everything's appearance is appearing, you know? Whatever dawn's day, you know, whatever went on in your life, whatever's going on now, that's the same thing that you're talking about, right? It's the same story, the same appearance. It appears as a story. It appears as something going on. And maybe even to a dawn. And that's the same story, that there's a separate person seeing a story. It's all the story, it's all wholeness, but there's nothing happening there, because it's not happening to anyone. There's no one separate from all of that. I'm talking too much, but
well, if I can just put it succinctly, wholeness doesn't have a story.
So yeah, the point is wholeness isn't trying to become wholeness, but there is a story of that, which is what you could say the me is. The me is the experience of something trying to become something else, trying to become whole. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like, seems like, appears like, but to no one. Because there isn't anyone, and there isn't anything. And that's why we call it an appearance. There's nothing here. There's something we call an appearance, which is something that isn't anything, but it seems like something. And it seems like it has a story to it, which is a Zoom meeting and people and all kinds of movement all over the place. But it's just all this. No movement and no people.
Okay, Nkosi, well, maybe you have a few words to take us out.
Well, I have one more word, and nobody who's ever going to figure it out or figure anything out. Go ahead, Nkosi.
Yeah, there's just what seems to be happening right now. Talking, somebody seems to be asking a question, somebody giving an answer. That's all this, just wholeness appearing as that. And there's no way to go here. There's no goal to reach already. And this is going nowhere. It's just wholeness appearing as that. Even what seems to be the story is wholeness appearing as that. Yeah, well, you can say it's not even a story, it's just wholeness. So there's no story. And everything is beautiful just the way it is, because there is nobody here. So yeah, that's it.
That's it. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming. Appreciate all of you. Nkosi, brother, thank you as always. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks,
See you guys. Take care.
Everybody, bye.
Bye.